This is out of the New York Post. I just thought this story was interesting and I wanted to cover it. It's from like a month ago, but I just saw it recently. What is NATO dating? What is NATO dating? Check out Gen Z's top 2023 dating trend. Young singles are no longer doggedly pursuing their happily ever after, new data has revealed. According to Tinder's annual year-end swipe, which shares the state of date in 2023, singles are less concerned about where their relationships are headed and more interested in creating opportunities to have new memorable experiences. This year in particular marked a major shift where the journey is more important than the outcome. This new generation of daters is showing us what it means to date for the possibilities, freeing themselves from traditional expectations and allowing them to write their own worthwhile stories, according to Tinder Chief Marketing Officer Melissa Hobley. Gen Z Tinder Australia spokesperson Christy Dunn agreed. Continue to usher a renaissance in dating, and this generation is certainly straying away from labels and more traditional expectations. 69% of young singles agree that dating standards need refreshing to fit more modern and diverse society. To any military buffs out there, no. When I say NATO, N-A-T-O dating, we're not talking about the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which should be disbanded just as much as NATO dating. Instead, it's an acronym for not attached to an outcome. Not attached to an outcome. An approach to dating that has been embraced by Gen Z, especially this year, and, quote, helps open up the possibilities of any and all connections instead of being fixated on a specific end game. Users are not looking for anything. They're not putting pressure on themselves or others by setting that expectation of only looking for a relationship or only looking for something casual. This sounds like a douchey boy at a frat party trying to convince that dumb sorority girl to sleep with him and not actually become his girlfriend. That's what it sounds like to me. That's why I'm saying it like that. It's very much in line with what we've been seeing over the last couple of years, particularly last year, as situationships become increasingly more prevalent. They're focusing on getting to know someone, being in the present, and living in the moment. They're leaving it open-ended so that they can explore whatever path they want, which can be quite freeing and liberating, man. This is idiotic. It also says Gen Zs aren't focusing on those conventional milestones like being married or having 2 kids and a white picket fence house by a certain age. Okay. This entire thing is idiotic. You shouldn't do anything in life, just about anything in life, if you cannot say, what is the purpose I am doing this? What is the purpose? If you cannot answer that question, what is the purpose I'm doing this? Not attached to an outcome. It sounds like you're trying to, who actually calls it that too? This is the first time I had ever heard of this saying or this acronym NATO that was not affiliated with the military organization. The first time I heard it was through this article. It sounds like some crap that somebody made up who was typing this article and was just overgeneralizing. Because the thing is I don't disbelieve the article in and of itself. In the idea that that's how a lot of my generation operates, but I don't believe anybody in my generation is going around being like, and like on their first date saying like, oh, like what are you hoping comes of this? Oh, well, I'm really just more of a NATO dater. I'm just more of a NATO dater, you know? You know what NATO is, you know? I don't feel like anybody's doing that. You'd sound like a pretentious asshole if you did. But that's besides the point. NATO dating in and of itself is just stupid. It is. Going into any situation without look, I get not being attached to an outcome, but without having a certain level of expectation to an outcome is idiotic. I've said it with college. Let's take it outside of dating for a moment, then I'll bring it back in. But let's take college as an example. I have said multiple times on this show, you should not go to college if you do not have a general idea of what you want to major in and what you want to graduate with by the end. If you go into college as an undecided, and when I say college, I mean like if you go to a four-year university and you're undecided, you are stupid. Because you could be trying to figure out what you want to do at a community college where it will likely be mostly paid for, if not at least very cheap, much less expensive at a community college than at a four-year university. So now let's break. So you should go into that four-year university with a plan. Now let's bring it back to dating. As I mentioned earlier in the show, I've recently entered into a relationship. And if she's watching right now, she'll get mad at me about it. Or no, she probably won't. But prior to getting into this relationship, I had gone on dates with other people before I even knew this girl. And so I'd gone on dates with other people. And about the time that it would get to a second or third date, I would tell them. I would say, look, my plan is the person that I am dating with. If I'm going to enter into a relationship with a label on it, my plan is to marry said person. I do not want to waste my time, my energy, my emotional capacity, or my money, honestly, on somebody who does not plan on being invested in my life the way that I plan on being invested in theirs. And I'd gone on dates with many other women. And they'd be like, you're crazy. We're on a third date and you're already asking me to marry you. And I'm like, that's not what I'm saying exactly. But I'm saying that if we're going to proceed further, if we're going to put a label on this at some point, that would be my expectation. And for some, it scared them off. To which I said, good riddance. Because you're probably a hoe anyways. Maybe. That might be a little mean. But you know what I mean. But then the person I talk to now, I said it and she was a little weirded out at first, which I can understand because that's not the way my generation operates, obviously. But she came around and she was like, you know, that actually kind of makes sense. That actually kind of makes sense. And so call me crazy if you want, but I'm not one to enter into a situation without a desired outcome in my mind. Why would you? Why would that be something that you would want to do? Why would you want to go into any situation and be like, well, hope it goes well, and not have any level of a plan to get to a desired outcome? It's all about, and like I said earlier, they make it sound as though it's the frat boy trying to convince like Stephanie from Delta Gamma Zeta, whatever flipping sorority it is, to sleep with him without having any strings attached. He's just like, man, like just live in the moment. Just live in the moment, man. Like we can just explore each other and get to know each other better. We don't need to have all these expectations. Let's just live in the moment. Do not be attached to the outcome. Be a Nato dater. I don't know. It's as insane to me. Not to mention the fact that it also causes the destruction of society. I know that sounds like a super slippery slope, but seriously, if we're just not going to have any expectation of an outcome for anything anymore, let's take it out of dating. I mean, dating to me would be one of the most important ones because a building block of society and maintaining society is the idea that we have heterosexual relationships, healthy enough ones that result in children who can then also grow up to be healthy adults, contribute to society and the workforce, and also get into heterosexual relationships that would thus produce more children, and the cycle would continue. So that would arguably be at the very fundamental place, the most important building block. But what if like our politics worked like that? If it was just like, oh, like, I guess I'll run for Congress, but I'm not like really, I'm not really against losing it. Like we're just going to kind of let the experience happen and get to know each other. and maybe I'll win. Like, let's see, maybe I'll win. It's just some of the lazy I've ever heard. Nato Dating has just given, this is more from the article. Nato Dating has just given something that we've seen over many years in an actual term. It simply means that daters are relieving themselves of the societal pressures and timelines that are placed on them, and allowing them to enjoy the plot and the phase of making connections and getting to know people. Long-term relationships are still one of the most popular relationship goals on Tinder. So although we're seeing a shift, there are still many users who value tradition. Well, thank God some still value tradition. While millennials may have defined hooking up as a one-night stand, for Gen Z, it's simply part of the dating process and a way to explore a connection without the pressures of labels, not something to be ashamed of or secretive about. And that's how it pretty much ends. And that's even a problem for me, because hooking up and hookup culture has caused significant issues between men and women, period. But I don't know. Let's